Yeah, what's the deal, y'all? Thanks for tuning in to No Flag Radio. I'm your host, P. Saying what need to be said. Today we're talking about vaccines being forced on people in the Jewish community in New York and what we need to be looking at out of that. So this is a story that went up maybe about a couple of weeks ago. And a lot of people in the black community, our community, has been looking at it like, hold up, man. They trying to force vaccines on motherfuckers. And I'm glad that we saw that alarm. I'm glad we looked at it as an alarmful occasion. All right? Because that's what it really is. And this is a very serious topic. You know, you're talking about the government forcing people to get shots, to take vaccinations. So this happened out in New York City, in Brooklyn, and in Rockland, New York. And allegedly there were 50 people with the measles out in the boroughs. This was like during September, out in the boroughs. Now they claim now that anywhere from 250 to 400 people now have it in the boroughs. We're talking about like Brooklyn, Queens, Rockland. They mentioned an area called Westchester and another area. And these areas, just to let you know, these are Orthodox Jew areas of New York, very Jewish clusters in New York, if y'all didn't know, these areas that I just mentioned. And Mayor Bill DeBlasio, he had a hissy fit and basically demanded that people either get vaccinated for, hitting the screen, people get vaccinated for this measles, the MMR shot, measles, mumps, and rubella, or face a fine of up to $1,000. They'll try to get you a ticket. And he also made a mandate that unvaccinated children couldn't enter schools, couldn't be in public places, couldn't get on the bus, couldn't do certain things in public. And all this was supposed to last 30 days, starting on March 26th. So that was a couple weeks ago. It was supposed to last a full 30 days of this banning people and finding people, etc. Now they claim that anywhere from 250 to 400 people have measles in the area, allegedly. But we know this, that we're in a white supremacist regime of injustice who lies to get people to do shit and to comply with things that harm them. But it makes them money on the side. What up, lovely darkness? How you doing, Miss Lady? Good seeing you. We know that for a fact, that that's how they roll. So anytime they're talking about a shot of vaccination, that's a big lick that they're hitting off the people. And what just happened was that in these, these Orthodox Jewish communities that I named, people stepped up and said, hey, man, it's against our Orthodox Jewish religion to get vaccinated, and that we qualify for an exemption for religious grounds, a religious exemption. So they took the city of New York to court and said, look, we're going to push our religious exemption. And I think the way the exemptions work, they also allow for like a health related exemption. Like if you can prove that you have an immunity to whatever they saying you need to get your vaccine for or whatever. But they're pushing it in the court, and they were able to get this 30-day banning pulled off of their communities. These are Jewish communities. That's what didn't get said in the media. People just was like, oh, they're just trying to make people take that. Well, there's some nuance to that I'm glad you came to my channel to get. You know what I mean? But there's something we can learn from it, which is what I'm trying to land at. So they took the city of New York to court. Mayor Bill DeBlasio, he's sitting up claiming this is an epidemic. You know, he's really towing that line and trying to sell the scare to the people. This is the same motherfucking DeBlasio, if y'all remember. He was the guy that refused to sign that anti-illegal choke bill after our brother Eric Garner got choked out by Daniel Pantaleo, the racist white supremacist race soldier out there in New York. He's the same Bill DeBlasio that, you know, just recently he was talking about, you know, reparations. They was asking him about reparations for black people. He's sitting up talking about, oh, well, I think that it needs to be expanded to a bigger group of people, like the Latinos and the Indians and women. He started saying all that shit. So he's a piece of shit. We dealing with a piece of shit, okay? When we talking about Bill DeBlasio. So he came out today talking about he feels that all these cases that's getting drugged to court, like all these parents of these children drug them to court, or drug the state to court, the city to court rather, defending their right to have a religious exemption from these vaccines. And he's kind of showboating now, talking about, oh, you know, we're still going to push this. He's really pushing it. He's like, you know, I feel confident that no amount of law and cases will stop me from pushing this. So he's like being hard-headed about it, right? He is confident that nothing's going to deter him from pushing it on people, right? And I'm sure y'all also know that in most states, they have this vaccine exemption form that you can fill out. They still have that form you can fill out if you're not down with poisoning yourself. I mean, it don't got to be for no, you can just, you know, fill that shit out. Most states got it. They haven't stopped those in most states either. So, you know, but of course, this did bring a lot of people to alarm because, damn, to mandate that people put things into their body without taking a pristine account of everybody's body being different, everybody's body having different reactions to things, it's a point that's worth fighting for, right? And the Jewish community, they took it to court. So they knocked down the little 30-day quarantining of their children, right? Now what's happening in a response to this and to them dragging the city to court, dragging these boroughs out there to court, is that there's some of these lawmakers out there in New York, some of the state lawmakers actually, are actually proposing legislation that will eliminate the religious exemption for vaccinations. All right, so Bill DeBlasio, he plugged with the state, is what I'm thinking, because he talking big shit after his folks just got dragged to court. The judge that knocked down this little 30-day ban on people and their children because of this vaccination, Judge Thornton is his name. This is a white supremacist spite move in response to that by Bill DeBlasio. And I think he has something to do with these state lawmakers now trying to act like they toughening up on the law around a religious exemption. They just honed in on the religious exemption part. They didn't even say nothing about the part about, you know, you have a health thing. They jumping on the religious exemption part. Like, you motherfuckers are gonna be able to use religion as a way. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not gonna use religion as a way to get out of these shots, is what they are trying to basically get over to the Jewish community out there. All right. And so we're going to soon see basically how the Jewish community is going to do some grassroots lobbying of lawmakers. That's what I want us to see out of it. You know, I talk a lot about lobbying on my channel and, you know, how that may look for the black community and what that would look like for us dealing in it. We about to see, you know what I mean? We about to see how the shit get done and take notes over this shit, right? Yeah. Like, because the judicial end of it has run its little course. You know, so similar to the reparations issue that we're talking about all the time, like the judicial end of it has ran its course. Now we're dealing with lawmaking, right? So I'm saying that it's ran its course, but they stopped the little 30-day ban on it. So, right, on people that didn't want to get vaccinated via this judicial motion. They made a judicial motion to slow the flow of this 30-day ban on people, right? And when people start moving lawmakers in place to do things, which is what we're witnessing now, they're moving state lawmakers in place to propose legislation to shut down this religion clause or whatever. Now we're going to watch who the county executives are and who the state legislators are and so forth. We're going to be watching who these people are in these next elections out there in New York City, right? Because these people are doing things against the interest of a community out there, the Orthodox Jewish community out there. So this is going to be interesting. I want to follow the money behind this. This is like a real battle. I want to see what kind of names pop up in this fight of religion against vaccines. We might see names like Mount Sinai, the hospital, pop up. They're a big, that's a Jewish name, Mount Sinai, right? I checked their board of trustees. It's not all Jewish names and shit like that, but just feel me on that shit. There's a lot of insurance companies out there in that area, in the 5 boroughs area, in the Queens, Brooklyn area. There's a lot of insurance. I mean, there's a lot of people that could put their money on the table to lobby for this legislative effort, right? And New York, just as y'all probably didn't notice. I didn't notice. I just found this out today. New York has more Orthodox Jews than Israel. You know what I mean? They have more Orthodox Jews than any city in the world, right? Did y'all know that shit? I didn't know that. So we're about to see them mobilize on lawmaking, and we're gonna be watching and taking notes when it's our time to do some shit like this. But I have the story handy. Let me pull it up. I'll place a link to the story. It's not important for me to read from the story. I'm giving the story and a few other stories that's on top of the shit. Like I'm running, I'm working. But that brings me to my point of these vaccines. We all know, man, it's a bunch of crap in these vaccines. You can't be forcing people to do this shit. So we're gonna see these people come out and force over this shit. We all know it's all kind of shit in these vaccines. They got aborted fetus tissue, aluminum that gives you Alzheimer's and shit. They got mercury. They got the polysorbate 20 and 80. That shit that fucks with people's reproductive organs and shit. It causes infertility, I believe is what it is. Yeah, it causes infertility in like animals and shit like that. They do animal studies on a lot of these, vaccines and shit. And then they just say, okay, well, it did this to an animal, so then it must have some sort of analog in humans. But it's just so much foreign material in those vaccines that, those foreign, viruses and things that they put into people's bodies, they cause genetic mutations. Your body goes through genetic mutations to respond to that sort of shit, right? So your body has to respond to the foreign material. So it's like, all right, it's fucking people up from the inside. I mean, it's what's happening. So to make a blanket mandate and to have state lawmakers and a mayor like DeBlasio making a blanket mandate that everybody need to go through XYZ just because somebody who don't even know them personally says to do it. And that's like the ultimate infringement on personal rights. And we know this shit is about money. New York is the most populated city in the US. They got a lot of children in that city. And, measles and that type of shit, measles, mumps, rubella, that shit affects kids from like 6 months, I believe, up to like 14 years old is where they have to stop getting those shots. So, there's a lot of insurance companies out there making bucks off them premiums. And that ain't the move right there. I see it's money in it. And us as a people, black people, I'm just talking about us. We got to know that regardless of whom or what, we have personal rights that got to be respected at all times. Just like these Jews are pushing to have their personal rights respected at all times. Like they're saying, hey, look, we got a personal right to manage our health and the health of our family, or to self-manage our health and have our family's health managed. You know what I mean? Like without having nobody's hands into our shit, right? And that's a right that nobody should hand over to nobody. I don't give a damn. Especially with a country like this. It got a history of targeting its own motherfucking populace for profit and for experimentation's sake. Goddamn, this is a need. I start with GMO food, GMO fruits, pesticides, atrazine, all that other shit. They dump so many chemicals into the air and all that shit. You got the carbon tax. You get to dump chemicals in the air if you pay for it. It's like that kind of. We're in a fucked up, callous ass society. So what this society says we should be embracing, most cases it's fucked up, right? We're the public, and they have shown that they don't give a damn about the public here. Is my point. Go to your local health department. Yeah, real life. I'm trying to see what you mean by that, but okay. I wanted to say for black people, another thing I want to say about this for black people. This is something that I came across, you know, in my time of studying our brother Dr. Laila Africa. He broke this shit down, you know, that the studies that are done on people to determine like benchmarks for how people are to respond to disease, or as I say, dis-ease, or when your body is in a state of dis-easement. These studies are studies that they do on, like I said, animals, lab rats. And Dr. Laila Africa was sure to point out that, yeah, they do these experiments on white people. They give these injections and do these tests and benchmarks and set standards in place and plaster it all over the world for people to see. They do that shit for white people. They do it on white people, right? So bear in mind, we have melanin. We aren't white people. We don't have Neanderthal and rhesus monkey DNA and shit like that. So our body responds completely different to anything that they schedule, anything that they say is a standard. What was the example he gave? He gave an example of like your blood pressure. It's like, yo, if they say your blood pressure is normal, yo, go find somebody black to diagnose your shit. You know what I mean? To give you a synopsis of your blood pressure. What's normal blood pressure? Like 90 over 120, 120 over 90 over 60, some shit. It's like normal. Whatever they say is normal, that means your shit is probably higher. This is from my brother Dr. Laila Africa, you know, and I do not think that is far from accurate. Being melanated beings, okay, I see, for religious exemption forms. Okay. Yeah. I probably could place a link for people in Texas if they need that. If you out in Texas, anybody out in Texas, I could place a link for the Texas exemption forms if y'all need them. But keep that in mind that they doing these tests and creating these benchmarks off of testing white people. And being melanated beings, man, look, our bodies communicate differently with the universe, way differently than anybody else. We communicate and interplay with the farthest reaches of the motherfucking universe all day. And nobody else does that but us, right? So all these drugs and these additives to the fucking food and the shit that they say you're supposed to be pumping into your bodies is very much unnecessary when it comes to us. I was debating with one of these pro-vaccine white chicks online about 3 weeks ago. She's one of these pro-vacciners. So I don't know how, for some reason, I ended up in her timeline. Somebody retweeted some debate they was having with her, and you know me, I come through with the arms out the trees and slam dunking and shit on her ass. You know what I'm saying? I come through dunking, right? So I'm just like, look, you know, she's trying to, basically putting herself in a position of the uppity white chick trying to educate the Negroes type of shit. And I'm like, all right, bitch, we're going to see what you're going to say. Then I'm going to swat it out the air because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but let's go ahead and go. So she's like, yeah, vaccinations have helped people out over the last 100 years, and they've helped get the numbers of these various diseases down over the past 100 years. And I was like, all right, boom, I'll bring out my facts. Like, okay, bitch, here we go. Over the past 200 years, it's been proven that simple shit like washing your hands and washing your body and eating fruits and vegetables and drinking water has done more to eliminate all diseases over the past 200 years. I threw in the extra 200 so she could know, look, this is real science, little lady. You working with your little nursing degree and that shit ain't cutting it over here. All right. What happens to separation of church and state? I don't know what that means. This ain't no, what happened to separation of doctor and state? Because the doctor part is what's infringing. Or what happened to separation of the vacciner and state? This ain't no church topic, Harold Ali. You might want to rewind it when I finish. Man, rewind this shit. You'll see I'm not talking about the church, homie. But I'm saying, though, got in at her like, come on, there's countless studies that show this. So the noise that they pushing about, he's talking about health department and the religious exemption forms. The health department and the religious exemption forms. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. If y'all say so. So the point is, we're going to have people that are going to try to sell this notion of vaccinating is, or vaxxing as they say, is this or that. And some communities ain't having it. The Jewish community is a community that ain't having it. The people I fuck with, my community of people, I told y'all my past, my history, and the people that reared me up, and coming up through the nation and all of this, saying we already know what's up. It ain't really no jokes and games. So it's going to be interesting to see how the lawmakers in the state of New York try to play this, because evidently there's some unnamed state figures that are proposing legislation for this vaccine thing to kind of truck through whatever people's religions and they said religion in particular. So, but who knows, if they can truck through religion, then they'll probably try to trample over people's, physical reactiveness to motherfucking shit like mercury in a fucking vaccine shot, motherfucking aborted fetus in a motherfucking vaccine shot, animal brains in a fucking vaccine shot, right? Why does the health department have them? That's how it works in South Carolina. You can't print them online. You have to go down there. Okay. That's a good question. Lovey Darkness, why does the health department have them? Shit, out here, we just got this, you just go online, print them hoes out. It really ain't no big deal. But that's interesting how they in love with them over there, how they holding them captive over there. That's interesting. Let me scroll back down. Oh, trust, I know my kids haven't had shots. I homeschool them. Okay. That's good for you. That's more power to you and more power to them. I'm sure they're enjoying that shit. Not to have to be around all the deluge of bullshit that other kids have to be subject to all the fucking time. What up, Zaire? The same reason that got police report, the same reason they got police report forms, I think is what you're trying to say. They just there for a show. Are you saying that the forms that you fill out to get exemptions based on health reasons, based on religious reasons. When it comes to vaccines, are you saying there for show, Zaire? Is that what you're saying? They're definitely trying to push the religious part to the hilt, and these people are not allowing their dander to be ruffled. We're gonna see a counter move from the Jewish Orthodox community out there. Like I said, this is the biggest Jewish community on the motherfucking planet. There's more Orthodox Jews in New York City than motherfucking Israel. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. They just, okay. That's a point to be made. We can kind of try to see how that will play out. All we can do is watch and see how it plays out and where it lands. The Jews are mobbed the fuck up. They not filling out no forms. They coming for war. Yeah, so let me show the message though. Damn, why are they blocking the message? Okay. But yeah, that was my cast I wanted to do. Just a quick short cast. I told you I'm gonna start adding in some shorter videos just for the fuck of it. I'm gonna start mixing things up a little bit. Just cause I realize I'm the only dude in Texas that sits down and do long play type commentary. I'm the only guy doing this type of commentary. Everybody else in Texas do 12-minute videos and shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm the only dude doing fact-heavy, long videos. I mean, so I'm pushing that line. And, you know, what kind of response and crowd I get out of it is the kind of crowd and response I get out of it. I like my audience. I like my chat. You know what I mean? I like everybody that tunes in, except for the trolls. We cut your fucking head off. But I fucks with everybody, man. Like, it's a nice little vibe here. Oh, they got money for war we don't have. Yeah, we about to see, lovely dogs. We about to see this war pop off. We about to see them march into the motherfucking lobby zone, because they're going to have to push laws now, because they have lawmakers that are trying to push laws that are strictly targeted against their community. So that's what I'm saying. We're going to see a response. So I did this video to kind of prep us to be ready to see the response and how they going to do this shit, right? Is what I'm saying. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know when I'm dropping this shit. Check out my motherfucking Teespring. That shit on the go. I'll be getting at y'all. Maybe like, shit, maybe tomorrow. And the day after that. 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 Holla at y'all.